Good day, YouTube. This is part 2 of the new military retirement, which will take effect 1 January 2018. I made a video about 2 months ago. I realized it was outside and the wind was loud, but since then, more information has been passed out and I've learned more. So I'm going to share with you what I've learned. Remember, this is the blended retirement system that goes into effect 1 January 2018. Focus on the word blended, and I'll talk about that. I'm going to read some of this stuff and then I'll talk about it as well. I'm going to put the link to this very helpful document, but I'm going to tell you this up front. If you try to access it, you have to have access to the Air Force portal. On the Air Force side, this affects all military branches, which is good, and other branches are going to have to go to their branch of service and find this information. This is under the Air Force portal, which you're going to need either a username and password to access or your your ID card, common access card, your ID card, because it has a chip. You put that in your computer, you go through the portal, you have access to this. So this is applicable to the military. And I'm going to read some of this. The blended retirement system goes into effect. I already told you about that. It has 3 elements. This is what I've learned since 2 months ago, because I'm going to be honest with you. When I look at this information, I want to be knowledgeable. And one of the reasons is my daughter, who's thinking of joining the Air Force. If she joins the Air Force, I want to, as a parent, find out that this is going to be good for her as far as if she does make it a long-term career or 4 years. I already know 4 years, 6 years is good. But I want to be educated so I can educate her. Additionally, I want to be educated so I can help others, you, for example. But I'm also going to talk about who the expert is a little bit later. So it's 3 elements. The new system is comprised of 3 elements, including the TSP matching funds, which is new, the matching part, a mid-career continuation pay bonus, that's going to be new as well, and a retirement annuity for completing 20 or more years of eligible service. That's the part that last time I didn't know about, and now it's making a lot more sense. All right, so modernizing the current retirement system into the BRS, blended retirement system, will not ensure that will not only ensure that the vast majority of uniformed service members receive a portable retirement benefit. What they're talking about there is if you serve 4 years, 6 years, and 10 years, and that's it. Now, under this new system, your earnings in the Thrift savings plan, you're going to be able to take that with you to your next career. And if they have something similar, you can combine that if you want to. That's one option. Whereas today, with the current military retirement system, if somebody serves 4 years, 6 years, or 10 years, and that's it, they don't get a retirement from the military. If they have contributed to the Thrift savings plan, of course, that's theirs as well. So if somebody serves 6 years and that's it, anything that they have in the TSP, even the matching contributions, is going to be theirs. So element 1, Thrift savings plan. Let's talk about that. Under the new system, service members receive some portable retirement benefit after 2 years of service. So you have to serve at least 2 years. Enrollment is automatic with the 3% of base pay, of your base pay. For those coming in after 1 January 2018, it's going to be automatic. In other words, your 3% of your base pay, the Air Force is going to take and put into the Thrift savings account. After 6 days of service, the Department of Defense automatically will start contributing 1% of the base pay and continues automatic contribution until the member separates. In other words, after 60 days, the DoD is going to put 1% for you. Think of it like that as free money. And that's going to go until the member separates, retires, or reaches 26 years of service, whichever comes first. Vesting occurs after 2 years of service, where DoD will begin to match service member contributions up to 4% of base pay. So after 2 years, the DoD will match if you're doing up to, let's say you exceed that 4%, 5%, 10% of your base pay. After 2 years, the Department of Defense will match up to 4%. Think of that as free money as well. Element 2, this is something new that I didn't understand last time, continuation pay. So to counter the impacts of reduced retirement pay, in other words, the military wants to make sure that they're going to have enough people who stay in, the blended retirement system created a continuation pay, a form of retention pay that is not part of the service member retirement benefit. So it's just a bonus. Think of it like that. Continuation pay is paid upon completion of 12 years. So you serve under this new system 12 years of service, you're going to get a bonus for an additional 4-year commitment. And the bonus is going to depend on what type of job you have. In other words, if it's a job where there's a lot of people, it's probably, this is an assumption, going to be less bonus, as opposed to, let's say you're in a career field where it's critically undermanned and the Air Force wants to keep you, that percentage, that bonus is going to be more. What I think is interesting about this is that at the 12-year mark, they're offering you a bonus for 4 years as opposed to 8 years. You would think, I would think, that they would want to keep you up until the 20, but that's not the case. The case is, if you, at the 12-year mark, they're going to give you a bonus to do 4 more years. That'll take you up to 16 years, which at 16 years, I'm going to say the majority of the people are going to say, you know what, I'm going to give the military or the Air Force 20 years, and that makes sense, so they get that pension. Element number 3, remember, the blended retirement system is 3 elements. Retirement annuity. This is, to me, very important as well, because when I first read this information, not this sheet, but the previous information, let's say 2 months ago, I didn't completely comprehend that there's still going to be an annuity, which is a pension for 20 years of service. After 20 years of service, service members qualify for a reduced amount of retired pay in addition to what they have accrued in the TSP account. This is very important. This is where I would tell my daughter, yes, I think you should do 20 years, maybe not. Of course, it's going to be her decision. Where we are today is for active duty, if you serve 20 years, that's 2.5 percentages per year. If you multiply 2.5 times 20, that's 50. In other words, that's 50% of your base pay retirement. That's how retirement is as of today. In the future, the retirement pay multiplier is 2% versus that 2.5. So let's say you have 2%, it drops to 2% times 20. That means with this blended retirement system, you're only going to get 40% of your base pay. That's a pension. However, some people may say, okay, that's 10%. That's not that big of a deal. Some people may say it is. I'm going to say, if you're guaranteed 40% of your base pay at retirement plus any TSP, that still, to me, would say, yes, I want to make the Air Force a career if I was a brand new airman today, or let's say 2018. In other words, I would definitely consider a retirement long term. Without this, that changes everything. Now, what's interesting here is there's also a lump sum. Let me read that. There will also be an option to elect a lump sum payment at retirement. This is new. Service members can elect to take a lump sum portion of their retirement in one payment or combination payments. The lump sum amounts can equal either 25% of that 40% or 50% of that 40%. I know it can get a little bit confusing, but the best thing that I can recommend is continue to get educated as this information comes out. Ask questions whenever you have questions as well. So the lump sum amounts can equal 25 or 50%. The remaining retirement pay not taken, that lump sum, will be paid as regular monthly payments. And that's an example of it can be confusing, so you have to be educated when you elect to do this if you have the option of electing. Because right now, if you have less than 12 years by the end of December 31st, 2017, you're going to be asked, do you want the retirement system that we currently have, or do you want the blended retirement? And once you make that decision, it's irrevocable. In other words, you can't change it. Now, here's something interesting before I move on. Retired pay annuity, if you do take that lump sum, is back to 100% at full retirement age In most cases, that's 67 years old. So if you do take that lump sum, you'll take that reduced retirement. But at age 67, it goes back to that 40%. So that's the first page. Let me talk about some other things. There was a course taken. If you are Air Force, you can find it once you go through the portal and type in Blended Retirement System. There's a course on Joint Knowledge Online. I took the course last week for my knowledge, but I plan on taking it again because after reading this, it makes more sense. I want to learn more because I'm still not 100%. Other good news is the Department of Defense is also developing 3 additional courses of training within the next 18 months, including one targeted to those eligible to opt into the new system. So that may affect you, it may not. An additional class is the Train the Trainer course for personal financial managers. If you know my story, I used to be an accredited financial counselor for the Air Force when I was a civilian, no longer. But my counterparts, the people that I used to work with, they're going to be trained. I'm going to contact my counterparts at Peterson and say, hey, when you get these slides, send them to me so I can review them because I'm still very interested in finances. Those counselors are going to be the experts, not me. I'm not an accredited financial counselor. So I'm just sharing information because I'm being proactive. However, the experts are going to be your base Airman and Family Readiness financial counselor. Opting into the blended retirement system affects both Air Force Reserve component personnel and regular active duty. That is the update for today. You may have to watch this video once or twice to understand if I went too fast. My recommendation, if you have access to the portal, I'm going to put the link, but you'll be able to access this with your common access card, your ID card, or if you have a username and password for the Air Force portal. Very helpful information. My advice to you is get educated. And if you're a supervisor, get educated not only for yourself, but the airmen who you lead. And I hope it's helpful. The more I find out, the more research I'm going to do and share that information with you. I'll leave you with this. Best thing you can do is get educated, and that's going to be through your Airman and Family Readiness financial counselor who are or should be the experts. Have a great day. Take care.